Good evening. Good evening. I'm Cadet Lieutenant Commander Logan Hill, Commanding Officer of Easton High School's NJROTC unit. On behalf of Easton Mayor Robert Willie, Easton High School's principal, Mr. David Snowflake, and our veterans group, I welcome you to our celebration this evening. Please stand for the presentation of colors and join singing our national anthem. Please on colors.
Right. Colors. Hold. Left. Face. Present. Colors.
Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Carry. Colors. Right. Face. Forward. March.
Please be seated. It is the soldier, not the minister, who has given us the freedom of religion. It is the soldier, not the reporter, who has given us the freedom of the press. It is the soldier, not the poet, who has given us the freedom of speaking. It is the soldier, not the campus organizer, who has given us the freedom to protest. It is the lawyer. It is the soldier, not the lawyer, who has given us the right to a fair trial. It is the soldier, not the politician, who has given us the right to vote. It is the soldier who salutes the flag, who serves beneath the flag, whose coffin is draped by the flag, who allows the protester to burn the flag. This observance is dedicated to our veterans, active duty and reserve, military and National Guard members, merchant mariners, and family members, friends, and countrymen who support them. NJROTC Cadet Seaman Isis Copper will now read a passage explaining the origin and meaning of Veterans Day.
Good evening. In 1921, an American soldier, his name was God, Bay on a green hillside overlooking the Potomac River. In the city of Washington, the Arlington National Cemetery, burial site of the unknown World soldiers, became a personification of patriotism and reference for American soldiers. The memorial justice all took place on November 11, during Easton, proclaiming the celebration and ending of World War I. The 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, Armistice Day. In 1951, President Eisenhower signed a bill proclaiming November 11th as Veterans Day. Among veterans, the resisting and sharing influence of the same and ideas of freedom and democracy. A set of pride, courage, and respect for each other, because they realized that they had each other contribute greater good. Our veterans understand the true essence of America. So what is a veteran? A veteran could be an Easton police officer, a Talbot County warden, or an electrician from track. A veteran is an individual who went away as one person and came back as another, or didn't come back at all. A veteran could be a nurse or a Easton High faculty member. Veterans are the anonymous heroes in the Tomb of the Unmarried, whose habitation at the Arlington National Cemetery must forever preserve the memory of all other anonymous heroes who vowed, died, and lived, who with them on the battlefield or into the ocean sunless deep. A veteran is an ordinary person, and yet an extraordinary human being. A veteran is a person who offered his or her lives in the service and service of their country, and who was sacrificed his or hers anonymous so others do not have to sacrifice theirs. A veteran is a soldier, a savior, a sword against the darkness. A veteran is nothing more than the finest and greatest testimony on behalf of the finest, greatest nation. Amen. Please welcome Mr. Kevin Thomas, President, VFT, President 5118.
Good evening. I'm here to represent the VFW Post 5118 in Easton, and we're here to recognize the local post winner of the Voice of America contest. Each year, nearly 40,000 high school students from across the country enter to win a share of the $2 million in educational scholarships and incentives awarded through the VFW Voice of Democracy audio essay competition. The VFW established the Voice of Democracy program in 1947 to provide students grade 9 through 12 the opportunity to express themselves in regards to democratic ideals and principles. This year's theme was My Vision for America. The national first place winner receives a $30,000 scholarship. Other scholarships range from $1,000 to $16,000. A winner from each state is chosen and wins a minimum scholarship of $1,000 and an all-expense-paid trip to Washington, D.C. At this time, I would like to announce the winner selected by Air Post, and I wish her all the luck in the world to keep continuing all the way up to that $30,000 scholarship. The first place winner is Hannah Lee Leeberry. She's an 11th grade student at the Chesapeake Christian School in Easton. Hannah, congratulations.
Good evening. Before I begin, I'd like to say a few things. I would like to thank the VFW Post 5118 for inviting me here tonight. Before I give my speech, I'd like to say to those of you who served our country so proudly and so well, I want you to know that there are young Americans who will make sure that our Constitution will survive. Our way of life is protected, and our flag, the red, white, and blue, will always be respected. Thank you for your service. Some say the youth today are disillusioned about the future. Not me. I envision an America where liberty, justice, and opportunity are as prevalent as stars on a clear night. They will light the way for every American to follow their dreams. No matter where one is in America, he or she will always have these same guiding stars to light their path. The America I see allows the same liberty our forefathers intended in the establishment of our Constitution and Bill of Rights. The responsibilities and freedoms given to us at the birth of our nation lights our path and allows us the liberty to pursue our dreams. Freedom to speak our mind, freedom of the press, and freedom to bear arms to defend our country and way of life shine forth clearly as we navigate our daily course. The rights given to us are a treasure more precious than gold. With these rights, my generation is the beneficiary of an estate of inestimable wealth. We have liberties afforded to us that other people in the world can only dream of. Like the North Star, our independence shines as a navigational beacon to the world. The America I see upholds the laws of our country as specified by our Constitution. Every man is created equal by God and has the same inalienable rights as stated in the Declaration of Independence. If we obey America's rule of law, we are free to pursue what makes us happy. If not, our judicial system seeks justice, as the Bible says in Isaiah 1, verse 17. Those who disregard our laws are punished fairly. We are assured that we are protected from overzealous prosecution, like being tried for the same crime repeatedly. Our family and freedoms are protected by the courts of our great country. Because we have a foundation of justice, if we respect the great laws of our land, our future is as bright as the moon. We should go forward and lasso that moon. The America I see allows us every opportunity to build and make a brilliant future. The opportunities we have will dawn as great as the biggest star we can see, the sun. Each day that breaks will give us the chance to improve our life. America offers every child, regardless of the race, the opportunity to succeed if that child is willing to work hard to achieve their dreams. With this assurance, any American can pursue the happiness projected by our forefathers. We can elect our own government, worship as we desire, and speak as we please. Our opportunity as Americans is as dazzling as the sun's rays on the water. We could swim out and try to touch the sun. The America I see was made possible by many men and women who courageously have safeguarded it. Today's soldiers still selflessly defend our rights, our liberties, and fight for justice to ensure the incredible opportunities we have to outshine all the world's citizens. These men and women are like the small points of light that fill the sky at night. They are too numerous to count, and too many to know their names. Because of their presence and commitment to defend our way of life, they fill dark nights with hope and optimism. Do you see what I see? As a young American, I have an extraordinary future ahead. My vision for America is full of opportunity and hope. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Leeberry, for that amazing effort. It has been 70 years since the end of World War II. Tonight we especially honor the service of our World War II and Korean War veterans, and the greatest generation. Representing all World War II veterans is Major Ernest Selly, U.S. Army retired. I ask all World War II and Korean War veterans to please stand and be recognized. Thank you. Please be seated. It is our proud honor to recognize all our our armed veterans, active duty, reservists, and guardsmen. I would ask that they stand for the playing of their appropriate service song. A representative, active duty member from each of our service branches will be honored on stage. The United States Army and National Guard, represented by Sergeant First Class Richard Taylor from Wilmington, Delaware.
Present. Arms.
The United States Navy and Merchant Marine, represented by Petty Officer Alan Kaiser from Trapp, Maryland. The United States Marine Corps, represented by Lance Corporal Stephen Sensabaugh from Denton, Maryland.
Present. Arms.
The United States Air Force, represented by Staff Sergeant Tiffany Proctor from Bushwood, Maryland.
Present. Arms.
The United States Coast Guard, represented by Petty Officer Mary McDonough from Pearl River, New York.
Present. Arms.
I again ask for all active duty military, reservists, guardsmen, and veterans to please rise and be recognized.
Present. Arms.
Thank you. We
Lance Corporal Sensible of the United States Marine Corps. I'm a 2014 graduate of North Carolina High School, where I participated as a cadet in the Easton NJROTC unit. Today, November 10th, is the 240th Marine Corps birthday. I ask that all Marines in the audience again rise and join in our birthday hoorah.
I am Cadet Easton Ewing. We will now observe the Table of Honor ceremony. Honor Guard Commander, present, cover. On the stage, you see a table, fully set but empty. This table is reserved in our honor and our missing comrades. Sector 5, the empty places represent those missing in action from each of our 5 armed forces: Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and Coast Guard. As the Honor Guard places a service cover on each of the 5 empty places, I would like you to consider their sacrifices. I explain the meaning of the items on the table. The table is round to show our everlasting concern for our service members still missing in action. The tablecloth is white, symbolizing the purity of their motives when answering the call of duty. The single red flower displaced in a vase reminds us of the life of each of the missing and their loved ones and friends who keep the faith awaiting answers. The vase is tied with a yellow ribbon, symbol of our continued demonstration to account for our missing. A slice of lemon is on the breastplate to remind us of the bitter fate of those captured and missing in the foreign land. A pinch of salt symbolizes the tears endured by those missing and their families who seek answers. The glasses inverted symbolize their inability to share its hopes. A single candle is placed on the table to represent the hope that the missing servicemen and women will return someday. Please observe a moment of silence in honor and memory of our departed and missing heroes.
That was Mr. Randy Welk playing Amazing Grace. Girl Scouts Lily Costanzo, Sophia Principe, and Jessica Hammond. And the EHS Chamber Singer, or Chamber Choir, sorry, my bad. EHS Chamber Choir singing God Bless the USA. Our guest speaker this evening is Captain Robert Lovelady, United States Navy retired. Captain Lovelady is a graduate of the United States Naval Academy and served our nation as an F-14 pilot and squadron commander among many accomplishments. He flew over 4,000 flight hours while flying 217 combat missions over Vietnam and the Middle East. Among his awards are the Meritorious Service Medal and 12 Air Medals. Captain Lovelady.
Thank you for that great introduction. Isn't it a great program tonight? I'd like to thank the town of Easton, Easton High School, NJROTC, VFW 5118, American Legion Post 7077, and Easton Downtown Partnership for their sponsorship of this event every year. We veterans really do appreciate the effort you put into it. It's terrific. Tonight we're talking about the 70th anniversary of the conclusion of World War II. So I thought I'd focus on the veterans of World War II. In the late 90s, Tom Brokaw of NBC fame coined the term the greatest generation. I'm not a member of the greatest generation, but my parents were. I thought I'd give you my characterization of what that term means to me. Those that were adults during World War II, those that fought, and those that built the equipment, grew the crops, and transported them to the front, and all the other jobs that were done. They were born in the teens and the 20s. They all have vivid memories of the Great Depression, and it left a lasting impression on all of them. That means they all have some common characteristics. Buying something on credit was not comfortable for them. It was okay to buy something on layaway because you didn't have it, you couldn't enjoy it until you paid for it. They were uncomfortable owing anything to anyone because they didn't know if tomorrow they'd have a job and that they'd be able to pay it back, and their word was their bond. Most were poor in today's terms, but they didn't know it because everybody around them was going through the same thing. And everybody knew somebody who had it worse. There was no expectation of anything free, and there were very few programs that provided handouts. People couldn't afford to donate to them. So although they helped the neighbors, everyone worked to put food on the table. Literally. Kids in rural areas might bring their hunting rifles to school because on the way home they needed to pick up dinner. And it wasn't by robbing the general store. Depending on where you live, the unemployment rate was a minimum of 25%, and in many areas it was much higher. Things were really tough. Today people worry about their privacy because their phone number might be in a computer database somewhere. But in those days, if you were fortunate enough to have a telephone, it's almost certain that you were on a party line with a bunch of people that you may or may not know. And on every party line, there was at least one busybody that knew everybody's business. To make a phone call, you had to talk to an operator, and sometimes they stayed on the line to make sure that the connection went through, and other times they just listened. Everybody knew that, and it wasn't the end of the world, and having communication with a telephone was a miracle in and of itself. There wasn't enough money for clothing, so fashion and fads were not very important. For entertainment, they listened to the radio. and used their imaginations to see the stories unfolding. There was only one radio in the house, so families listened together in one room. Or they played card games, or put together a jigsaw puzzle, or after they were invented, they played board games together as a family. The worst thing in the world was to get in trouble at school. Not because the teachers or principal were harsh, but because their parents were going to be harsher when the news reached home, and it always did. Most Americans in those days were first, second, or third generation immigrants. In many households, the parents or the grandparents required the children to speak only English. They didn't want them to speak with an accent, so they couldn't be mistaken for anything other than Americans. They came to America because it was a land of opportunity. The promise was, if you worked hard and played by the rules, you could rise above the class that you were relegated to in your home country. Most were religious. In many towns, there were more churches than there were grocery stores. They honored their fathers and mothers and treated them with respect, because if they didn't, they knew what was coming. Dr. Spock's baby rearing concerns about bruising self-esteem hadn't been invented yet. Spare the rod, spoil the child was often heard, and there weren't a lot of spoiled kids. Before the economy could recover, the United States was attacked. We had the remnants of an Army and Navy left over from 1918 and World War I, which had been erroneously called the war to end all wars. We were ill prepared to fight. There was a rush to duty, and millions signed up for military service. In the beginning, they drilled with broom handles until the guns could be manufactured. Kids from rural Kansas bunked with guys from the Bronx, and they each learned a lot about the breadth of America. Our friends were Russia and China. Our enemies were Japan, Germany, and Italy. How times have changed. It was the last war when it was acceptable, even encouraged, to hate our enemies because of the terrible things they were doing. We even had derogatory names for them, and if you watch some old movies today, they may be bleeped out. Yet today they're our friends. World War II was the last time anybody talked about unconditional surrender, or even surrender at all. It was the last time we threw around the term victory. During the war, just about everything was rationed. If you wanted to buy something, you had to have a card that enabled you to purchase that. From early 1942 until the end of the war in 1945, not one civilian automobile was manufactured in the United States. So you ought to pass up that good deal on eBay for the 1944 Chevrolet. Neighborhoods organized victory gardens to grow food. The original recycling program sprung up when there wasn't enough metal to make all the stuff that needed making. So they were taken to places where they piled them up in huge piles and took them to the plants where they could be used for uniform buttons and belt buckles and holster snaps and 1,000 other things. Those that had little gave everything they could without a second thought. If bumper stickers had been invented by then, there would not have been one that said, "We support our troops," because anything else would have been unthinkable. We were in this together. We couldn't afford to lose. After Pearl Harbor, Admiral Yamamoto of Japan said that they had awakened the sleeping giant. His words were prophetic. Mostly men went off to war, but over 300,000 women did too. At home, we needed to construct almost 7,000 large ships including over 100 aircraft carriers and over 300,000 airplanes. The men that would have normally done that heavy work were needed overseas, so the women went to work. When the war was over, those men came home needing jobs, so most women gave them up and became mothers to us in the baby boomer generation. It was another 20 years before two-income families became commonplace. 16 million people served in the U.S. military at some point in World War II, roughly 9% of the population. We lost over 400,000. That's a terrible loss, but on a global scale, we fared much better than many others. The scope of this world war was mind-boggling. Greece lost 11% of its total population, including 86% of their Jews. They were relentless in keeping the Nazis occupied, saving millions of people in other countries, and hoping the United States could hurry our mobilization. Poland lost 17% of its population, including 91% of their Jews. The Soviet Union, our ally, lost 27 million people. Germany lost about 7 million, Japan 3 million. Worldwide, about 50% of the losses were civilians. There's certainly something to be said for not fighting a war where you live. After the war, veterans came home to a growing economy. There were far more jobs than when they went away, but not everyone was skilled at what was required, so some of them used their new GI Bill to go to school. And many had to deal with their memories. My dad was an Army medic in France, Belgium, and Germany. In the late 50s, when we got our first television, my brother and I would sit down to watch a movie where John Wayne was going to save the world single-handedly. And after a few minutes, we'd notice that my dad's chair was empty. He always found something else to do. He never watched a war movie, and he never discussed what his experiences were. Being a medic, he probably saw a lot of things that none of us would want to dwell on either. Like most others of that generation, he didn't seek attention for anything he'd done. He hadn't done anything extraordinary. He'd just done his duty. He didn't deserve anything special, although he did appreciate the GI Bill. He got to go to school and became a chiropractor. I see a sharp contrast between the football player of today that just does his job with the help of his teammates, whether it's a block, a tackle, or a reception, and then he dances and prances as if he did it all alone. Look at me. That behavior was unacceptable to the greatest generation. I recall my teachers and my mother always saying, fools' names like fools' faces are always seen in public places. I had no idea what they meant. But I knew you weren't supposed to call attention to yourself. It was impolite and undignified. If you had a tattoo, it meant you'd been in the Navy and got drunk in some foreign port. What it was a tattoo of and where it was were clues as to how drunk and which port. How times have changed. If there's anything that the greatest generation did wrong, so to speak, was they made it easier for those of us that followed. It was very important to them not to have their children have to go through what they went through. So they worked hard to give us what they didn't have. Unfortunately, many of my generation didn't understand that those were gifts, not rights. You would never hear a product of the 30s talk about a right to privacy or a right to a college education, or a right to a minimum wage, or even a right to a job. Those were to be earned and appreciated, not to be taken for granted or even expected. Because of the hard work and sacrifice of the greatest generation, we have the freedom today to screw up our lives. The freedom to throw away what they earned for us. The freedom to lose that freedom. Or we can take a lesson from them and stop screwing around. Honor them and what they've done for us and follow their examples. World War II veterans, we know what you did, and we can only imagine how hard it was to do it. We thank you very much.
The Easton High School Navy Junior ROTC Silent Drill Team, led by Cadet Lieutenant Commander Logan Hill, will now perform.
Rotate. Hold. Rotate. Hold.
I'm Cadet Senior Kevin McCoy. All military personnel are familiar with standing watches for periods of duty. They stand watches alertly, resolutely, and bravely to ensure that nothing bad happens on their watch. The following passage is a part of many retirement ceremonies. And now, as we honor our veterans today, we have a final expression of respect for you, the watch. For many years, you have stood the watch. While some of us were in our bunks at night, you stood the watch. While some of us were in school, learning our trade, you stood the watch. Yes, even before many of us were born into the world, you stood the watch. In those years when the storm clouds of war were seen brewing on the horizon of history, you stood the watch. Many times you would cast an eye from afar and see your family standing there, needing your guidance and help, needing that hand to hold during those hard times. But you stood the watch. You stood the watch for many years. You stood the watch so that we, our families, and our fellow countrymen could sleep soundly in safety each and every night, knowing that you stood the watch. Today we are here to say, shipmate, the watch stands relieved. Relieved by those who trained, guided, and led. Shipmate, you stand relieved. We have the watch.
Ladies and gentlemen, honored veterans, military friends, and families, thank you for sharing this evening of appreciation for our heroes. We would like to particularly acknowledge the great music performed by the Easton High School Band under the direction of Mr. Rickens. The the Easton High School Choir, directed by Ms. Davis. Easton High School cheerleaders, led by Ms. Rhodes. Our bagpiper, Mr. Randy Welch. Our Voice of Democracy speaker, Ms. Lieber. Captain Lovelady. Our active duty military. Mr. Tibbs. Girl Scouts Jessica Hammond, Lily Costanzo, and Sophia Principal. OS1 Gardner and Commander Hammond. And my fellow NJROTC cadets. Refreshments are available in the lobby after this program. They are provided by the Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 5118 and American Legion Post 70, and 77 Ladies Auxiliaries. Please enjoy the music as we close out our program. Remember to thank and support our veterans, active duty military, reservists, National Guardsmen for preserving our freedom, if you enjoy freedom. Thank you, veterans. Good evening.